Well, Dragon Folk, I know this is late news considering everything that's been going on with ProQuest, so I certainly apologize for not tying into this earlier. But Japan is getting huge OP support from Flesh and Blood. Welcome on in, Dragon Folk. I hope you are all having a fantastic day. I know I am. My name is Ashen Wings, and today we are going to be talking about none other than the complete awesomeness that is Flesh and Blood expanding over to the territories in Japan. Now, Japan, before all of this had happened, had kind of just had to deal with some English cards, and they were playing in English, and they still currently are playing in English. But there are some new things that are happening over in Japan. There is the very first gem store to be opened over in Japan. That means now there is a store in Osaka that is doing sanctioned play for Flesh and Blood. And of course, there is so much more to come as far as the entirety of Flesh and Blood is concerned. LSS is starting to move a lot of stuff over that way. And, we saw it with all of the history packs from the previous year where, German and Spanish and Italian, we all got their history pack volume ones because they were not as into it as, the United States. But unfortunately for Japan, there is no Japanese cards yet available for anyone out there. But according to LSS, it looks like sometime around 2024, they should hope to have new Japanese language cards for Japan to use in their region. So it's going to be really awesome to see that. I know we saw a big spike in want, essentially, from the Japan card game scene in regards to getting into Flesh and Blood and trying it out themselves. There were several, learn to play days that were going on over there. And it was just amazing to see that even as the days move on, we see more and more regions across the entirety of the world get interested in Flesh and Blood. And then there will eventually be some Road to Nationals, I believe, in later this year, like maybe third quarter later this year. But this just makes me think that at some point, if you are a very competitive player in Flesh and Blood, that you will actually be able to, with any hope, at one point, travel to Japan for a big event, like possibly a Calling, or even a Battle Hardened, or maybe even a Road to Nationals, something of the sort. It'd be so cool to see a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, I know that I have nowhere near the amount of money I would need to travel to any of these places, but to know that there is an option that if I end up becoming more and more competitive at the game, that I can spend that time traveling and really enjoying my time in these other countries. It's kind of a way for me to kind of mix my want for travel, but also my love for card games kind of in one thing. So I'm very happy to see that happen over at LSS and them expanding over into the regions of Japan. And I really hope that any people who are playing in Japan are really excited about Flesh and Blood because it really is a fantastic card game. And I really hope that they're able to get the support that they need to be on the same competitive level as, everybody else all around the world. Luckily, I believe the amount of English speakers in Japan is decently high. So having the English cards over there is not a terrible thing. But of course, wanting to get the Japanese versions of the cards are going to be important. So hopefully that comes to them very, very soon into 2024 as opposed to like middle of the year. We may even just see it with a History Pack Volume 2. The History Pack stuff is, of course, printed in white border in the US, in English, but in black border all the way across the world. I'm not sure whether or not it will be black border for all the other languages as well, simply because currently it's black border for all the other languages, but I believe there was some, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe there were some foreign boxes now being pushed out to other places as far as like Monarch and Everfest and so on and so forth. So maybe we'll see some of that same change in History Pack Volume 2, or maybe we won't. And it'll be exactly like History Pack Volume 1. But regardless, I'm happy to see that there are more and more cards being distributed all throughout the world. You know, LSS and Flesh and Blood have done so well in this past year really has been like amazing for them. And really it is just all kind of coming together. Now the ProQuest season's happening, and once ProQuest is over, all these other big OP events are happening. So I'm very, very excited to continue seeing how Flesh and Blood is moving forward. And again, I really, really hope that we get some cool stuff for outsiders moving in there too. But congrats to Japan for getting into the Flesh and Blood scene. And I really hope that it flourishes as well over there as it does for every other region. So thank you all so much for watching. I know this is kind of a short video, but I wanted to kind of touch on the fact that this is really a milestone in Flesh and Blood. You know, there are so many different regions all across the entirety of the world, and all of these regions want something to do with Flesh and Blood, whether or not that be just playing the game, or some people even just collect it. But we're seeing a more higher influx of players all around the world come in and want to try to play the game and learn to play the game. And it's so great to see, because you have so many other competitors like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon and One Piece and Dragon Ball and everything else, right? So it's very, very cool to see such a great, kind of an uprising of sorts of people who are very, very interested in Flesh and Blood. So I can't wait to see any of the awesome stuff that happens over in the OP scene in Japan. I'm sure we're going to get some pretty awesome deck techs over there. Seeing the different regions and how they play versus how we in the US play is so incredibly cool, because the metas are just so different compared to each place. You even look at the Battle Hardened in Leeds that happened just earlier, and all of it was ice. I mean, it was all ice. Whereas out here in the US, there seemed to be quite a few people who had reported that their top 8s for ProQuests were 8 different heroes, 8 separate heroes in 4 different ProQuests, which was mind-blowing to me. So very cool. I hope to see a lot more from Japan, but let me know in the comments down below, how excited you are to see this. I know, we have viewers from all across the world. So if you do live in Japan, I'd love to hear how happy you are about this. Maybe you're just happy to eventually possibly go to a calling in Japan of some kind. I think that'd be pretty cool too. So let me know in the comments, and while you're down there writing it, make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. You can also check the link down in the description below for a Patreon link. That will bring you to our Patreon page. We have awesome tiers for people to check out, and I hope to do a lot more box breaks and giveaways and so on and so forth over there. So feel free to support the channel that way if you wish, but it is absolutely not necessary. So thank you all again so much. I do truly appreciate your support, and I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.